Welcome, friends, it's the MovieFilm Podcast. MovieFilm Podcast, enjoy the show. Zaki and Brian are talking about movies. MovieFilm Podcast on the radio.
Welcome to MovieFilm. This is episode 78, brought to you by Mr. Boy Productions. My name is Zaki Hassan, and I am joined, as always, by my good friend Brian Hall.
Hey, what's going on, Zaki? How you doing?
What's going on with you? We skipped a week, so it's been a longer than usual gap.
Yeah.
So I understand you've been keeping pretty busy during that gap.
Oh yeah. Things, life's busy.
Yeah.
But I've been keeping up and watching some things. It's funny because it feels like some of these things I saw a while ago, but we haven't had a chance to talk about them.
It's true.
And I saw Straight Outta Compton finally, and I'd been looking forward to that.
Reconnected with your roots.
It's true.
Growing up a poor black man in South Central.
No, I was a skinny white kid in the suburbs of Chicago listening to NWA as I mowed the lawn. And I remember, I got it as a copy, like a dubbed tape cassette from a friend of mine in junior high school. And it's funny because I gave the album a re-listen recently just to sort of remember it. And I remembered almost every lyric, and B, I would be horrified if my 12-year-old was listening to every lyric
right
on that album. But yeah, I'd been looking forward to this movie, and I forgoed seeing this movie because I saw Fantastic Four.
You're
so
welcome.
We could have an episode. You're welcome. But I finally got to see Straight Outta Compton, and I really enjoyed it. I mean, I'll join the chorus, I guess, at this point. But I was a little worried going in. What had really attracted me to it in the first place, not only being familiar with this group and this music and stuff, was that it also seemed sort of like a period piece, and that it was going to focus on a point in time as well as the group and the music. And then I started getting worried that it was just going to be like the rote biopic kind of thing. You know what I mean? Where it was just like, okay, like I can go in and I could draw an outline, like beat A, down and out, beat B, a chance is presented, beat C, and I was happy that wasn't the case. I mean, to be fair, it is the case, but the movie does a really good job of retelling that familiar tale in a way that feels fresh, I thought.
I totally agree.
Yeah, because I mean, if you really were to chart the story, then of course you could probably fill in those things, but they're not so heavy-handed and obvious. I mean, it does a really good job. It follows, like essentially 4 or 5 guys really, but each one has a different sort of rise and fall sort of element. And I guess the lead of the movie would be Eazy-E, it seems. Which, to be honest, I knew probably the least about. And walking away from it, I was like most impressed with the performance, first of all, of Jason Mitchell, who played Eazy-E. I mean, great. Dude, like I had lumps in my throat throughout this movie. And that's totally, it was mostly Eazy-E's stuff. And then also, Ice Cube, played by his son, O'Shea Jackson Jr., who was like, there's a couple of moments throughout the film where you see him and he'll do like that Ice Cube glare.
Right.
And you're like, holy crap. I feel like I'm looking at Ice Cube. But yeah, a lot of the movie is about the relationship with Eazy-E and their manager, Jerry Heller, who's played by Paul Giamatti. And I just thought that was a really compelling relationship. Like they couldn't be more different people, but they seemed to really confide in each other and trust each other. And they went on this journey together to the chagrin of a lot of the other members of the group. And I just found it really a really compelling story, really good movie. And anyway,
you were talking about Jerry Heller, and I wanted to mention I really enjoyed the complexity that Paul Giamatti imbued him with. Oh my
goodness, yeah.
It's very easy to see that sort of archetype in these kinds of movies.
Yep.
And he wasn't that. You know what I mean?
And I don't want to say too much, but obviously there's conflict there. So Eazy and this guy, Jerry Heller, have this relationship, and the guys in the group feel, that it's maybe not as genuine as Eazy thinks it is.
Right.
And when I left, and I don't feel like this is spoiling anything, but when I left the theater, I was talking with my friends I saw it with, And I was like, did you think their relationship was real? Like, did they really care about each other? Did Jerry really care about Easy? And we all couldn't agree. And I was like, well, that just shows how well they portrayed that, because I bet a lot of people who are really there wouldn't be able to agree. You know, I personally felt like a lot of it was genuine, and other people disagreed with me. So that just, I mean, that's a credit to the film that it's not he's not a mustache twirling villain. Right. You know, it's a complex relationship. And but anyway, it's, you know, it's I wondered too, like how rough the movie was going to be, like if it was going to be kind of gritty, sort of almost like Wolf of Wall Street, like really hard because their music's so hard. Sure. But I didn't find it as hard as I expected it to be.
No, I agree.
And I think for that reason, not like it's like disingenuous to their story or anything, but I think it's accessible. You know what I mean? Like, I think anyone can step into this and not necessarily have to know the music or even like the music, but you can track with this sort of, you know, rags to riches story that actually happened, set in a really contentious time in Los Angeles. Yeah. So, it works on its own as just a great film, regardless if you're into rap music.
Now, you were somewhat plugged in at the time with NWA. You kept up with them.
Well, you know, not really, if I'm being honest, because I knew, like I said, I knew the album really well. Sure. But this is like the time before the internet, you know, and I was like in junior high, there really was no way for me to know what's going on in these guys' lives per se, like you would easily be able to do today. Right. So yeah, a lot of it was, and it's funny, just, you know, some of the ways that they were at odds with each other. Like, I didn't know any of this. I was too young. I was like 11, sure. You know, but yeah, it was really interesting to see this. And there's some things that they do to each other, you know, dissing each other in raps and stuff like that. And I'm like, that really happened? That's crazy. You know, But anyway, I really dug that. So,
and what else have you seen lately?
Well, I also saw The Death of Superman Lives. I think it's called What Really Happened is the full title.
This is only available online.
Yes, it's a little tricky to find, if I'm being honest. Yeah. But this was a documentary in the late 90s, I believe, or early 2000s. They were.
It was the late 90s, yeah.
Late 90s. They were going to make, Tim Burton was going to direct a Superman movie starring Nicolas Cage. And this is one of those things that's become sort of like internet lore. And the only way we have like details from this is Kevin Smith basically can't stop telling the story.
Famously secretive Kevin Smith.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he's typically tight-lipped, but when it comes to Superman Lives, you know, he was brought in by a producer, John Peters.
I have to say that the movie may not have gotten made with him involved, but it has kept him employed gainfully for decades. You know,
because people have been paying him for decades to tell this story, and it's
good for him.
Story. Yeah,
I mean, all power to him.
Yeah, and so basically, the legend goes that, you know, they wanted to make this movie that was just not Superman at all. Superman wouldn't fly. He wouldn't have a cape. You know, all sorts of weird. And again, Nicolas Cage is Superman. It was like, what? But then over the, you know, past couple of years, then like pictures have started leaking, you know, of costume tests of Nicolas Cage with his Con Air long mane, you know, in a Superman costume. And it's like, wait, what? Like, this is real? Like, they really were going to go through with this? And so anyway, what was his name? The guy who did this? John
Schnapp, I think.
Yeah. So he, I mean, amazingly tracked down all these people who were involved, including Tim Burton, which I couldn't believe. Because to me, I feel like Tim Burton is reclusive, but he is like completely game in this documentary, and he tells like how he remembers it and just what they were thinking, and he has a good sense of humor about it. There's even a good gag where Tim Burton goes like, "What year is it?" And the guy's like 2014 or 15 or whatever it was. And he goes, "Wow, so I'm still working on this movie 20 some years later." But I have to say, I didn't find it as compelling as I hoped I would.
The
documentary, because this is what I think it is. I think this movie is actually for someone like you. Okay. Because you are like intimately knowledgeable about not only Superman, but probably the storyline, the death of Superman.
Sure.
And what they were, all the characters that would be involved with that story. And I'm not super familiar with all this stuff. So they give a lot of great details about designs they were going to do for characters and, ways that they wanted to portray some of these characters. And for me, it wasn't like they were explaining the making of the movie and how it went wrong, but they were explaining like what the movie was going to be. So if I was like a huger fan and more familiar with these things, I think it'd be a little bit more like touring through the archives of what was left behind by this movie.
Right.
So I would say I found half of it really genuinely compelling as a fan of films and filmmaking. Mm-hmm. But I think you also have to be a pretty big fanboy to get a lot out of this movie. So I'd be really curious if you check it out, what you would think of it.
Well, hopefully by the next time that we talk, I'll have caught it by then. Yeah.
Yeah. And then lastly, I wanted to bring up, I rewatched E.T. last night, but not only did I rewatch it, I got to see it at the Hollywood Bowl, where it was, they stripped all the music out of it and they screen it on this enormous screen, and they have a live orchestra score the movie live to the movie. Wow. And it was conducted by David Newman. Unfortunately, John Williams wasn't there. He typically does, John Williams once a year three times, I should say, in August, does a concert where he does like his greatest hits, if you will. And I think he's too busy in Star Wars land these days. But anyway, he introduced the film via video. And I got to say, it was a phenomenal experience. I have really close ties to that movie. That was the first movie I ever saw. And to this day, I mean, it's one of my probably top 10. And it was just something else to see it. And then every now and then, it was so well mixed and so well choreographed that I forgot there was a live orchestra playing because I got so wrapped up in the movie. And then I would think, like a note. That's another thing I should say too, is I'm so familiar with that score. I mean, honestly, like backwards and forwards. Every now and then I'd hear a note that didn't sound right. And then I'd be like, oh yeah, this is happening right now. Like, live, wow. But it's going to sound a little different at times.
And so you're so intimately familiar with the score that any slight variation you can sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I did. I would notice that stuff. And so, but it would be really cool because then all these like iconic, really emotional moments would happen, like when E.T. takes off on, takes the kids soaring off on their bikes. And then all of a sudden the whole Hollywood bowl like rips into applause, which was really kind of cool. And then you could just watch all the people with their violins and their horns and all that stuff, just complimenting, the imagery on screen. It was really special. So I really enjoyed it.
Well, another perk of living in Southern California.
Yeah. Well, you know what? They've actually had 3 films there this summer. They did this one, and they did 2001, and they did Back to the Future. And from what I understand, I think Back to the Future actually tours. I think you can catch that around.
It came up here and I missed it, unfortunately. But yeah,
I don't know about ET, but it's a pretty cool thing. And if anybody has an opportunity to check it out, I think they would enjoy it a lot.
You know what I was thinking as we were talking? We should our next commentary track should be ET.
Oh man, I would love. That's one of those movies like Star Wars that I've read a lot about, and I love learning about the making of that film.
And Spielberg doesn't do commentaries.
Nope.
So the next best thing is Brian Hall.
I officially endorse Zaki's comment.
Literally the next best thing.
I want to ask you a question, though. I bumped into a friend of mine there, and she had her son, who I believe was like 4, maybe, if I'm guessing. And I was like, oh, this is great. Because I was like, I think I was 5 when I saw this. And I was like, this is the first movie I ever saw. Mm-hmm. And she's like, yeah, I'm a little worried. He still gets a little frightened by some things, but it seems like he might enjoy it. And so after the show, I texted her because I lost track of her. But I texted her, and she said, she goes, yeah, he was a little traumatized, but I think overall he was pretty engaged and enjoyed it. And so I was just wondering, have you shown your kids E.T. yet? Or
I have not shown, and not because, I mean, they've seen Jurassic Park. So, I mean,
right.
We've set the bar there. So I don't think there's anything in E.T. that's going to do any damage.
I think it's like emotional trauma.
Yeah.
Because you see E.T. get like really sick, and it's really kind of disturbing. And then he dies at one point. It's kind of, and you see a child screaming as his best friend is dying.
Yeah, I'm waiting for just the right moment to inflict that kind of trauma.
Yeah.
It's funny actually. I mean tangentially connected to this. We're watching the 1980s Transformers cartoon.
Okay.
And they enjoy it, but I have to admit that the only reason I'm doing it is so that they build up this nice well of attachment to Optimus Prime, so that when I drop the animated movie on them where Prime dies, I can rejoice in their tears.
Yeah.
It's really sick. I think I have a problem.
Yeah.
Because I'm waiting for that. And the same thing with, I've mentioned this before, how we're working our way through the Clone Wars cartoon, just so that it can really punch him in the balls when Anakin Skywalker becomes Darth Vader. This is what it means to be a geek dad, I guess.
And you just pull out your phone and just film.
Exactly.
At the moment.
Why? Yeah. It's like there's that video of, I don't know if you've seen it, where this kid is crying after watching The Life of Timothy Green.
Oh, I've seen that. Yes. Now that I think about it. Yeah.
I just love that that's what parents do now. They film these like traumatic moments now.
It's funny you say that, because literally, like, I think it was 2 days ago, a friend of mine showed his kids, who are like 5, 6, 7, Back to the Future for the first time. And he filmed them as Doc revealed the bulletproof vest at the end. And it's really cute because his daughter is like, he's alive.
Funny if she's like, so death doesn't exist?
Right.
Total wrong lesson.
We are immortal. Whoa, hey. Julie. Yeah.
So you're talking about E.T., and that draws to mind another beloved 80s artifact, which is the Karate Kid. And I saw this video last week. I was wondering if you've seen it, where it shows the real story of the Karate Kid.
Yes.
Which is that turns out we've been looking at it all wrong. Actually, Daniel is the villain of the story, and it's actually about this tragic hero, Johnny.
You see, and that's the thing. It feels like this is sort of a thing that's happening right now, where it's popular to try to make these videos convincing people that the villain of these films is actually the hero of these films. Like there was another one for The Dark Knight where they're trying to convince that the Joker. So I didn't see the Joker one. I saw the Karate Kid one. Right. And I loved it. I thought it was hilarious. Yes. Well, I was going to ask you, do you like these? Like, do you think they're funny and clever, or do you find them sort of annoying and clickbaity? I don't like this. It's more the if it's done well. Yes. Then I don't mind indulging it, right? Because it's just obviously it's a clever thing. I haven't seen the Joker thing. I have to admit that. The Karate Kid thing, I loved it. I thought it was hilarious. I thought that one was pretty clever. I think the one with the Dark Knight, his points were basically, long story short, like by the end of the film, through the Joker's methods, he rids the mob in Gotham. There is no mob by the end of the film, which is true. And man, I'm kind of forgetting it now. But it's just you could easily twist some of the things he does in there about how he cleans up the streets, but it's all in an effort to provoke Batman. But I mean, obviously, there's all the murder. There is that, right? Yeah, I'll have to watch that. I think to your point, I think what annoys me is this theory will change everything that you believed. And it's like real. Yeah. Like I don't think it will. I just think it's right. Well, I thought the Karate Kid. The first thing I want to bring up, but I thought they brought up a good point that I never thought about before. Is when you first meet Johnny, he's talking about how he's going to clean up his act. Right. But he's saying it in this really aggressive voice, and there's like really bad music, like villain music playing. And I was like, I've honestly never paid attention to what he said there. Like I've just always just sort of absorbed the moment as this like, oh, look at that dick. Look at his hair. Yeah. But it's true. He's like, no, man, I'm not a degenerate anymore. Like I'm cleaning up my act. This year's going to be different. But you're like, yeah, but they're totally filming it in this weird way. And then how Daniel like completely interjects himself into these moments, and he actually like picks on them. Right. The video does a pretty good job. I mean, in context, when you're watching the whole film, obviously. Right, but nice guys, but like, the video is very funny. Yeah. Well, I will say this, like, for as far as I'm concerned, like you need this kind of video to make Daniel the villain of the first Karate Kid.
Whereas the third Karate Kid, the movie basically does that.
yeah, right.
Because I just happened to watch some of the third Karate Kid. I was mad at myself, so I watched some of the third Karate Kid. It really is a terrible, terrible movie.
I don't think I've seen it since the theater in like
Wow.
1990 or whatever.
89. It was the same summer as Batman.
Wow.
Yeah. It's because you remember it has like it's Kreese, the Cobra Kai sensei, and then his like army buddy.
Yeah, some guy in a ponytail.
You know he's a douchebag because he's got the pulled back ponytail.
Right.
And he's the head of like the Toxo Sludge Corporation. Or
yes,
like
I remember that toxic waste. Yeah,
it's like really. He dumps. I mean, it's and Daniel is like Arrested Development because he was like 47, I think, when they made the movie.
right.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yes, but I digress. Now, you talk about becoming the villain of your own narrative, and I don't think there's a better example of that than M. Night Shyamalan, who leads off a couple of the questions that we got from listener letters. And this is kind of these two are related, so I'll read them both, and then I'll kind of get your take. So this is from Joanne. She asks, what do you think about The Village? And then related to that, Chad says, kind of going with the above, there's been talk of Shyamalan being redeemed with the success of Wayward Pines, which is the Fox TV show that just came on, and positive early buzz around The Visit, which comes out later this week. What do you think of that? Do you think he might actually be a misunderstood artiste who made poor creative choices, or do you think his approaches are too flawed?
Personally, if you're asking me, I feel somewhere in the middle of that. Like, I feel like I don't think he's misunderstood, but I truly believe he is talented. And I feel like he is one of those people that is like, if you lock yourself in a room and you lose touch with the way that people respond to things and think that all your ideas can't be touched, you're not going to make something, even the best artists test screen their movies, you know what I mean? Because some things just aren't translating correctly, and you have to understand. It doesn't mean you have to change your ending per se, but you have to tweak and you have to massage so people can track with what you're trying to do, and I think he just got so, in his own head that he just started making things that he seemed to enjoy and understand, and other people were not. And when
did we lose Shyamalan?
Man, I feel like it was probably starting with The Village, right? I mean, I don't know if I'm speaking personally, but I think when people stopped sort of revering him. I mean, he was revered. Like, I remember he was on the cover of Time magazine or something, and it said next Spielberg.
The next Spielberg, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, Sixth Sense, I haven't seen it in a while, but I'd be willing to put my money that it holds up spectacularly. Unbreakable, I haven't seen in a long time. I remember feeling like if that movie was like played at double speed, it would be perfect. I remember it's like very dragged out, but it's a great story.
Sure.
Very clever story. And there's some really wonderful like moments in that movie. Like when he's in the house with those girls and everything. Oh, the score. Did you say score?
Yeah, it's a great score.
Score is fantastic. Yeah. And the Signs. I think some people maybe kind of got lost at Signs.
That's a polarizing film.
It's polarizing, but I still, maybe I'm remembering what it was going for more than what it is, but I remember really liking that movie. But I think it was The Village.
I remember jumping out of my seat a couple of times during Signs.
Yeah, it was good. It was a good, clever story.
Yeah.
But I think The Village was where it was like, okay, are we just gonna have like a twist all the time,
right,
whether or not we require it? And I remember the lengths to pull off the twist in that movie were just really far fetched.
Yeah.
I think that was kind of it.
And then after that was Lady in the Water.
That was where he lost me completely.
Okay, but you watched The
Happening.
The Happening. Thank you.
I did, and I'm one of those people. I've said this in multiple episodes. I still believe he's got good movies inside of him.
Sure.
So and even his bad movies are interesting. You know what I mean? Because he has an eye. So I don't mind, even with The Visit. Am I going to see it in theater? No. But I will eventually check it out because I still like what he is reaching for. You know what I mean?
But
I don't know. What
you
about
have
you?
not
I feel
seen,
like it's all my opinion.
well, you've not seen The Last Airbender.
No, I haven't.
So so I having seen The Last Airbender and After Earth.
The two I haven't seen. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm basically done with Shyamalan. That being said, I'm watching The Visit tomorrow, so
Ah,
we'll see. I mean, yeah, I'm ready. Look, I'd rather see a good movie than a bad one. So I mean, maybe it'll be good. I will say this: my wife watched Wayward Pines, and I mentioned this last time how somebody had recommended it to you. Yeah, one of our letters, and my wife really liked it, and clearly people have enjoyed that show. So.
yeah. I got to check that out. I want. Yeah. When I have that moment for a new show, I got to find it on Amazon or something.
But that wraps up our listener letters. Moving on to some headlines, we start things off with a little bit of a sad thing to get us going here. Unfortunately, Wes Craven has passed away. Legendary horror director Wes Craven. This came as a bit of a shock to me. He had been sick for a little while, but I didn't know that. How about you?
No, I had no idea. When you see him a couple of years ago, like he seems, for whatever his age was, I mean, he seemed very sprightly and alert and, in good health. So yeah, it was kind of a surprise.
Yeah, and of course he was 76, by the way, at the time of his passing, which is, I mean, honestly, as far as these things go, is relatively young.
Mm-hmm.
He is, of course, best known for just the huge mark that he left on the horror genre. Now horror is not a genre that I'm particularly fond of, but even I acknowledge that it was at its best with somebody like Wes Craven, because he never spoke down to the genre.
Sure. Yeah.
And I think obviously when we talk about his body of work, you start off talking about Nightmare on Elm Street, which is, for many people our age, and one of those defining moments. I mean, how old were you when you saw Nightmare on Elm Street?
You're gonna be surprised because I grew up on Elm Street. And by the way, he lived in Wheaton, Illinois for several years. Went to Wheaton College, and I lived on Elm Street in Wheaton, Illinois. So
Wow.
Who knows if that's the one that inspired him? But I didn't see it till my late 20s, actually.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. What took you so long?
I'm just not a horror guy.
Yeah.
You
So
know,
you and I
like-
are very similar in that sense.
Yeah.
Now, of course, when you look at his filmography, the part that now, and I mean, gosh, he'd been making movies from the 70s. He made the original The Hills Have Eyes.
Yeah.
He made Nightmare on Elm Street. That was in 1984. But before Nightmare on Elm Street, he made Swamp Thing.
I don't know if I knew that.
Yeah, and Swamp Thing is, of course, is the DC Comics character.
Yeah.
People forget that the original Swamp Thing was done by a pre-Elm Street Wes Craven.
That's really interesting.
And by the way, the Swamp Thing in the film is played by Ray Wise.
What?
Yeah.
I didn't know this.
Yeah. Well, and let me rephrase. His human.
Sure. Yeah, but still,
Yeah.
that's fine. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So one of the earliest DC Comics movies. He also he had kind of a low point because by the early 90s he was having to do stuff like Vampire in Brooklyn.
Man, I had no idea he did that. Wow, I forgot about that.
Yeah. And and then he got to come back, and he did the very, very successful Scream movies, and then he followed up the Scream movies. This is kind of interesting, with a movie called Music of the Heart,
Right, starring Meryl Streep.
People forget about.
Yeah.
But it's, I mean, a very diverse filmography. He did Red Eye, which was, I would argue, probably his last great movie.
Yeah, I forgot about Red Eye. That was a good movie.
Yeah.
That's a nice little claustrophobic thriller.
Yeah, just a suspense thriller. Not, it's not gory. It's not supernatural.
Yeah.
Unless you consider Cillian Murphy, just his existence supernatural.
What do you think of the Scream films? Do you like Scream?
I like the first Scream.
Sure, same.
And that's about it.
Yeah, I don't remember 2 very well at all.
I haven't seen the fourth one, to be fair. I haven't seen it.
But the first one is great.
And I think the first one did the job. I think in that sense it's very similar to the first Nightmare on Elm Street. Which now you didn't see it until your late 20s.
Right.
What was your reaction to that film in your late 20s?
Man, that's hard to sum up. I mean, if I'm being completely honest, yeah, it's almost like you're like when there's a movie you grew up with and you have this sort of like you were in the moment with the film and you try to show it to someone who was not in that moment at all. Like that was the experience for me. And so it was almost like looking at it from a distance. You know what I mean? So obviously the special effects don't hold up and whatever, but Freddy Krueger is still super scary. Yeah. Yeah. He, Robert Englund and the way that he looks and the way that he talks and like there's a moment where his arms like extend really long and he's like scraping his claw like against his pipe and it looks terrible. The effect that they use for the arms, but like the moment you still feel the dread from the moment, you know what I mean? And I would I'm more familiar with Scream. Sure. And when you watch Scream, like that's just a well put together movie. You know what I mean? Like this is a guy who, like you say, wasn't like into like, okay, like now we got to show like a naked girl and then we'll show some dude being stabbed in the face and then we'll do this. And that, like a lot of those sort of knockoff sort of things did throughout the, horror movie a week kind of thing throughout the 80s. But like they were actually well constructed. He was trying to make a film, he's trying to make a story. And especially with Scream, I feel like, again, because that's the one I'm most familiar with. Like that is like I like that one too because it's like a mystery. Like there's actually a story going on there that you have to sort of figure out. And the horror is not necessarily played for like gratuitous whatever, even though it is to a point because that's kind of why you're there. But like it's like the thrill. That's what I'm trying to say. Is like the dread of it is conveyed and is built up in an expert way. Right. You know what I mean? Like it's not about like let's just get to the horror. Like it's like let's like get you to the point where you are dreading what's coming next, and then we'll get to that point, and you're gonna like get that release that you sort of need from all the dread you've been feeling and the tension you've been feeling. Like he was a filmmaker for sure, not just some schlock director. One of his movies that I would recommend, and this is one of the Nightmare on Elm Streets, but it's the last one, which is Wes Craven's New Nightmare, right? And that's from 1994. And this one it came out after Freddy's Dead. It's funny, because I didn't follow the Nightmare on Elm Street series with any great. I mean, I was just, like you. I'm just not a big slasher movie fan. I appreciated the first one. I always did. With each latter film, which he didn't have anything to do with. Well, he wrote and produced the third one, Dream Warriors. Right. But other than that, yeah, I mean, they made however many of them, 6, I think. He seemed to kind of distance himself from the sequels, if I remember right in some interviews. Yeah, well, I mean, you can't blame him, Sure. I know that Frank Darabont wrote one of them. Right. Either the second or third one. But regardless, the New Nightmare was a meta take on it. And it was basically Freddy is upset that they've stopped making Nightmare on Elm Street movies. Right. So he's haunting the filmmakers who play themselves. Right. And the actors who play themselves. Yeah. The heroine of the film is Heather Langenkamp, who starred in the first film, playing herself. Right. So really it's a clever film. It's funny. It is scary. And it is underrated. I mean, insofar as it's kind of like the forgotten Nightmare on Elm Street movie. Right. But it is absolutely worth checking out. So, by all accounts, he was just a nice guy. Mm-hmm. He was a great filmmaker. And again, friggin' cancer, Yeah. I mean, what do you say? That being said, in an unfortunate convergence of timing, Quentin Tarantino gave an interview to Vulture, which happened to drop just a couple days before Wes Craven did. Right. And in that interview, Quentin Tarantino says that he had been offered the directing chair of the Scream films. Right. And he turned it down, and he says they ended up giving it to Wes Craven, and those movies are not good because of Wes Craven. Now, the exact quote here, he says, I actually didn't care for Wes Craven's direction of it. I thought he was the iron chain attached to its ankle that kept it earthbound and stopped it from going to the moon. See, now if I were the interviewer, I would be like, go on. Like,
Right.
explain. But it's like, then he just completely changes the subject.
Right. Well, and this is fascinating to me because this is Quentin Tarantino's thing. He kind of shoots from the hip. And I mean, during the course of this interview, this wasn't the only pot shot that he took at other filmmakers.
Right. Well, I'm sorry. I'm going to screw up your transition real quick because that was real good. That was really good. But that's what's so great about Scream is the fact that you completely. It's so scary that that killer could be someone from your high school. You know what I mean? And it could be someone in your group of friends. It could be some kid that you don't know in a class that you were mean to. And then in the end, I know this movie's so old, I'm not even going to spoil it. But like when you find out who it is, it's like, yeah, I'll buy that. And it's like super terrifying. You know what I mean? And it's just, I completely disagree with his take on it. I think that movie works for that reason, that it's tethered to Earth. Sure. I think that's what makes it even scarier, to be honest. But anyway, but yeah, Tarantino, he didn't stop there. He actually felt the need to criticize some other horror films, which was It Follows, which I think we've talked about a little bit in past episodes. But that was, speaking of VOD, by the way, that was like a really small horror film that was supposed to come out for like a week or two in theaters and go straight to VOD. But it actually caught on and it started getting these crazy good reviews and really good word of mouth. And then they kept it in theaters and it did pretty damn well. And it was directed by David Robert Mitchell, who I have liked previously. He did The Myth of the American Sleepover.
Okay.
Which is basically Dazed and Confused in a Midwest town as these kids have these sleepovers and then they kind of converge in the middle of the night. And I loved it because it's very subtle. And I thought it captured the Midwest pretty well, which most movies don't tend to do.
Sure.
But anyway, he did this movie, which is sort of sticking with that subtle thing. It was a horror film about this girl who is being haunted by these monsters that are following her, but the monsters are inside, so to speak, these regular people. So she'll see regular people in bathrobes, like following her. And then all of a sudden it'll be like a normal 8-year-old boy following her. And there's something that's very subtle and not a lot of it is explained necessarily, like why it's these people or why people don't understand that certain people are monsters. And Quentin Tarantino called that out and basically said that he thought it was a great concept for a film, but the director didn't follow through with making all the rules make sense. And it became this sort of awkward thing. And then, what do you do when Quentin Tarantino calls out? You're this small-time filmmaker who had this real huge, cool hit, and you're kind of buzzed about right now. And then Quentin Tarantino's like, yeah, he kind of screwed it up. Like what?
Man, talk about a buzzkill.
Yeah. So anyway, he finally tweeted out, this is literally what he tweeted. He said, hey, QT, why don't we get together over a beer and talk about these notes? I have a few of my own for you. Which I was like, that's perfect. Yeah. You know what I mean? They can go talk about Death Proof and everything that's wrong with that one. And, but I thought he did a pretty good job of handling that. But what I thought was interesting about it is like we're in this time now with Twitter where it seems like directors could be like in their own little circles as they're having their little fondue dinners. Be like, yeah, I thought Fellas was cool, but
is that what directors eat, fondue?
Oh yeah, you didn't know?
I had no idea.
Yeah, fondue. You could just be like, yeah, I thought it was all right, but it didn't fall through. But now, you can tell the world, and all of a sudden there's like a million outlets, and not even just for like film folk, quote unquote. I mean, like Yahoo picks up on all this stuff now because there's like this 24-hour news cycle. We got to fill everything with everything. And so now it becomes like a headline. Quentin Tarantino says this movie sucks. You know what I mean? And so then how do you respond to that? And it's like, you can respond to that. You can literally call out Tarantino via Twitter and come up with your clever response. And that just seems like kind of a interesting / unfortunate / dangerous sort of way that things are now. I mean, what do you think about that?
Well, I mean, I think it's a fascinating concept of how, thanks to social media, active filmmakers or actors, whoever, have the ability to engage with the audience immediately.
Yep.
And there's not off. I mean, a perfect example. Last time we talked about Fantastic Four and what a flop that was. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit. But Josh Trank, of course, gave the famous catastrophic tweet on the eve of that movie's release. But in response to the tweet, they had talked to other filmmakers, and Joe Carnahan gave a quote, and I'm paraphrasing here, but he said something to the, at one time he was attached to Mission Impossible 3 in the early 2000s, and he said, "Thank God I didn't have Twitter back then."
Right.
And so when we circle back around to the way this guy did respond to Tarantino, as opposed to calling him out or, hey, what's that supposed to mean or whatever. I mean, there is a certain degree of maturity there.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny though, too, because he had a follow-up tweet so
it wasn't misinterpreted.
Yes. Cause you could sort of take that as him calling him out a little bit, but I thought it was pretty obvious. It was all in jest, but then he did a follow-up tweet, something like all of you, I'm a Tarantino fan. My comment was meant to be humorous and not disrespectful. #respect.
Right.
It's just funny that he has to follow that. I'm sure his publicist or some sort of team, just clarify,
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Anyway.
Now we talk about headlines all the time, and we're talking about how quotes get spun and taken out of context. Well, I get to finally offer firsthand anecdote, Brian, of how this happens.
Please do.
Because for the past week, I have been in the midst of this internet tornado where I've watched one of my stories go viral and then die of that virus.
Wait, what do you mean by the second half? Well, no. Let's talk about the first half.
Okay, so about a little over a week ago, it'll be 2 weeks ago today, I interviewed Andrew Garfield.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew Garfield, you may or may not remember, recently played Spider-Man.
That's true.
He's also
back that up.
We've discussed it on this show, I'm pretty sure. And Andrew Garfield, of course, is a very talented actor. He's Social Network. Arguably, he got robbed of at least an Academy Award nomination for that movie. And he has a new film that's going to be coming out in a couple weeks called 99 Homes, starring him and Michael Shannon. So yes, it is Spider-Man versus Zod. And it's very, very good. I highly recommend it. So he was in town to promote that movie. So I got to participate in a roundtable interview. Now, normally I'd play the audio of that interview. Unfortunately, the audio that I got is not great.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll just share with you my transcript. So as the interview was winding down, I asked him, of course, about Spider-Man, right? Now, the way I approached my conversation with him was I couched it in this video that he made or not a video that he made, an appearance that he made at Comic-Con. This is like 2011, where he showed up wearing a homemade or a store-bought Spider-Man costume, and he surprised the audience by taking the mask off and revealing it was him. And the whole thing was sort of orchestrated to illustrate what a big Spider-Man fan he is.
Right.
I think you've seen that video, right?
I've seen it, yeah.
So, okay, so what I'm going to do, rather than play the audio, like I said, I'll share the transcript with you here. And the question I asked was, about 4 years ago, you were in front of the crowd at Comic-Con, and you talked about what you learned from Spider-Man growing up. What have you learned from being Spider-Man? And he says, well, nothing, because I was never Spider-Man. Because Spider-Man's a fictional character. He's not real. And he started to laugh. And he says, you know what's funny? To give you the vulnerable answer, I thought I was going to be Spider-Man, I went into it going, ego shit came in. It's like, okay, here it is. I'm effing Spider-Man. I effing made it. All that shit. He laughed again. I didn't actually make it. I was never Spider-Man. I was the actor that I am, the person that I am, struggling with trying to match up with something that I'd elevated so high in my mind, elevated beyond what I could attain, what I could achieve. The great thing is that's what Peter Parker was doing as well. Peter Parker created this symbol that he couldn't live up to. It was never enough. He never felt enough, and I never felt enough. I never felt like I was able to do enough, and I couldn't rescue those films, even though I couldn't sleep. Laughs. And I wanted to, not to say that I needed to rescue those films, but I couldn't make them as deep and soulful and life-giving as I could ever dream. And I'm never going to be able to do that with any film. It was especially difficult in that situation because, well, just because. And it was especially important because that character has always meant so much to me. And you saw that if you saw the Comic-Con thing, which thank you for reminding me about that. So at that point, I told him I actually show that video in my classes. In my speech classes, one of my assignments is a tribute speech.
Mhm.
And I say, pay tribute to somebody important to you. It could be mom or dad. It could be somebody fictional like Harry Potter. Or here's Andrew Garfield talking about Spider-Man, and I show his video. So I tell him that, and he pauses, and he says, that's very sweet. That really hit me in a deep way. Thank you. And then he went on talking about it. And then again, he says, thank you for saying that. That was a gift you just gave me, really.
Yeah.
And so it was this terrific moment. And, this is not me sort of chuffing up my skills as an interviewer, because that's not the point of what I'm saying. I just happened to catch him at a moment of vulnerability, and I managed to get something really poignant out of him, I would say.
Yeah.
So I posted that on my site, like on Saturday, and then before I knew it, it started catching on, and it got cited at JoBlo.com, it got cited at Yahoo News, it got cited at Comic Book Resources, Comic Movie, etc., etc. Something like 180 different sites ended up citing that interview.
That's crazy.
And what was so interesting was we started to see the telephone effect.
Yep.
And how with each version, it became a little bit further and further away from. So finally, it ends up at the Mirror, which, if you're not familiar, that's an English tabloid. And here's the headline. Yeah, I know, exactly. I feel like I've made it, right? So here's their headline: Andrew Garfield slams Spider-Man. His rant will confuse both film lovers and comic book fans.
That's insane.
Is it not?
Yeah.
So I read that, and I was infuriated for any number of reasons, partially because they stripped my quotes without the context of how that all came up. And then they frame it in a way where that's not how he said it.
Right.
He didn't break bad on the film. You heard what I just said. If anything, he held back.
Right.
And what it got me thinking about was, and by the way, and I know last time I was like, oh, Mr. Click whore, and all I want is click. So I hate saying this, but they didn't even link back to me.
Right. Right.
And the reason I mentioned that is only because, like, at least people see the full thing in context that they can see, right? But they didn't want to do that.
Right. Right. Because it would sully their angle.
Their tabloid truth, right? Now, what irks me about this is, for the first time, from firsthand experience, I get what actors go through and why we don't get these genuine moments.
Yeah.
Anything
they say is a potential misquote, for whatever angle or agenda, the publication has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's absolutely infuriating, because I have to say, I've done a few of these interviews. This was one of my best.
Right.
So this is very irksome to me.
Yeah. Well, that's the low point of it, but it's also worth celebrating all the other people that took the story and shared something kind of nice and did attribute you.
That's true. Yeah. So obviously there were in Joe Blow, our Paul Shire's site, Joe Blow, they linked to me without me sending it. So I was actually kind of proud about that.
It's pretty cool. I wonder how that happens. Like, who's the, just like people that read your site and then they just sort of. Well,
it based on the amount of traffic this one post got, I don't have very many people reading my site. So I think what happened is that it was just like somebody linked to it, and then somebody linked to it, the echo chamber. I mean, that's kind of, you see these clickbaity headlines,
right?
Because none of the headlines were like Andrew Garfield has a cool moment with a fan. No, it was like Andrew Garfield slams Spider-Man.
Right.
So, like I said, unfortunately, we don't have the audio for that, but yeah, you can check out the transcript. Actually, and related to that, I want to point out another interview that unfortunately we don't have the audio for, but I would love those of you listening, if you checked it out, is my interview with Patricia Clarkson about her, one of my favorite actresses, about her new film called Learning to Drive. and she stars in that with Ben Kingsley. Again, she's terrific, very smart, got a lot to say, and I think again that ended up being one of my better recent interviews. So please do check that out.
Nice. Where?
That's also on my site. Sorry, that's at zakiscorner.com. Thank you, Brian.
Cool. Mm-hmm.
Now, Andrew Garfield is no longer Spider-Man. That's one change at Marvel, but that's not the only change going on at Marvel. There have been a whole host of big changes at Marvel Studios just in the last week, and we've actually gotten a couple requests to help people sort this out and figure it out. So I'm going to do a brief summary. Essentially, Kevin Feige, up until now, is the sort of the point man for Marvel Studios. He's the guy who arguably more than anyone else gets to take credit for everything from Iron Man to now.
Right.
But all this time, he has answered to a guy named Ike Perlmutter, who is the head of Marvel, the Marvel Entertainment, which includes the movie studio. So even though Marvel is owned by Disney, it's still sort of an independent little fiefdom.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Ike Perlmutter is legendary for being a skinflint. He's like the real life. He's like the real life J. Jonah Jameson.
What's a skinflint?
You don't know what a skinflint is?
I've never heard that expression.
I'm gonna Google that up for you.
And believe me, it's not coming from a place of like, what does that mean? It's more like, I am impressed with you. Please share so I can use the word skinflint in a sentence this week.
I'm renowned for having a vocabulary that's rooted in the 1920s. So,
yeah, right.
So a skinflint, as per Google, is a person who spends as little money as possible, a miser.
Okay. So Scrooge. Scrooge would be skinflint.
Scrooge would be the prototypical skinflint.
Okay, nice. Someone won't chip in equally to lunch this week when we want to split it 4 ways, but they're like, no, man, I don't want to do that. I'll be like, hey, stop being such a skinflint.
You can drop that and give yourself a little pat on the back.
I will. I'll do it right now.
There you go. You can do it in advance. So Ike Perlmutter is sort of renowned for being skinflinty, shall we say? and the stories are legendary because when it comes time to negotiate deals with talent, the famous saying is that they're cheap.
Sure.
And this has largely been attributed to Ike Perlmutter. So now Kevin Feige, it came time for him to renew his contract with Marvel, and my sense is that he went to Disney and he was like, I'm not going to sign on if I have to report to Ike Perlmutter. And so the deal that's been arrived at is that Perlmutter has now been cut out of the loop as to how Marvel Studios is run, and now Kevin Feige will report directly to Alan Horn, who's the head of production for Disney films.
Okay.
And so how does this affect Marvel moving forward? I don't think it does, to be honest. I think all that's going to happen is that there will be longer deals signed, I'm guessing. Famously, Chris Evans was under contract, and he said, after I'm done with my contract, I'm going to stop acting or whatever. And then basically, with the day after this news came, he's like, hey, if Marvel needs me, I'll be there.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
So I don't think those events are unrelated. Now, what does that mean for Marvel moving forward? I don't know. I mean, it's kind of, when you look at all of this behind the scenes stuff, you have to sort of cut through the chaff a little bit, and we'll talk about this more in our next segment. But there might be the belief that certain movies were not as successful as they could have been, and there's the desire to scapegoat. I don't think anybody should look at the Marvel Studios, any of their releases thus far, and say that they're disappointments, because they've all been very big successes.
Mm-hmm.
But I would assume that if there is, the fact that Ike Perlmutter got kind of frozen out says that he was not a particularly beloved figure.
Right.
Within the halls of Disney. I mean, I think that's a fair statement to make.
And wasn't there like a story department that was cut as well, or dissolved rather?
Yeah, so there's something else called the Marvel Creative Committee, and this is kind of interesting. It was headed up by Joe Quesada, who was the former editor-in-chief. I think he's now the chief creative officer at Marvel. Brian Michael Bendis, who's one of their famous writers. And oh my gosh, I forget the name, but well, let me look up who was on the committee. But basically, their job was to ensure continuity in all the product, right? So they would offer notes on all the films, and those notes would or would not be heeded to whatever varying degree. So supposedly part of this reorganization at Disney is that now that creative committee has also been effectively frozen out. It has not been dissolved, but I think their impact will be felt on the TV level.
I see. Okay.
So essentially, because Ike Perlmutter still has sway over Marvel TV, which tells you something else. It tells you how the TV shows, despite how they're hyped up as being part of the universe, the cinematic universe, they're kind of the redheaded stepchild.
Right. Yeah, sure.
You know, I mean,
That's pretty interesting.
I think it's fascinating to me that if you just using Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as an example, if you watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., it fits in with the movies pretty well, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you don't watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., it has no bearing on the movies.
Right.
So in other words, you know, the shows are an annoyance that the movie people tolerate.
Sure.
I mean,
well, the
you know
Shield
what I mean?
specifically, but I mean also there's Daredevil and all the Netflix stuff.
Well,
right?
and I think the Netflix stuff is something that has no overlap with the films, really.
Right. Well, yeah. As of now.
So I mean, in other words, the movie people could drop Daredevil into a movie if they wanted to, just as like a cameo or something. But
right.
they don't have to acknowledge it at all. I think the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and I suppose Agent Carter to a lesser extent,
Mm-hmm.
You know, they have to function within the whatever rules that the movie set for. Yeah, because it's more intrinsically tied in, right?
Right.
If you don't watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
No.
So as far as you know, based on the films, S.H.I.E.L.D. has been disbanded.
Yes.
Until Nick Fury shows up again at the end of Avengers 2. Right. So you have no idea about all the there's like the S.H.I.E.L.D. Civil War and all this. I mean, you know what I mean?
Right.
So it's I mean, my point with all this is I feel bad for the TV people because it's like, man, you're busting your ass all year, and it's like you're trying to impress this hot girl that doesn't have time for you, you know?
Well, it's weird too. I mean, the whole Coulson thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That was such a momentous thing that happened in the films.
Him being dead.
The films. Yeah, of him dying. And then the show is like, no, not dead.
Yeah.
And so he's like a main character on the show, which I don't watch, but I'm aware of. But then in the films, I mean, none of the characters in the films are aware of him being alive. I highly doubt they're going to bring him back. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
it's
funny because Joss Whedon gave an interview where that's what he said. He's like, as far as I'm concerned, Coulson is dead.
Mm-hmm.
Now, bear in mind, Joss Whedon wrote the pilot of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. He's the executive producer of that show.
So it feels more like a necessary evil to them.
That's
something.
Exactly right. So it doesn't matter how hard the show people work, and I want to give them credit because I think they're putting out a pretty decent show, given the confines that they're. But it's like it doesn't matter what you do, you will never be loved.
Right.
It's like me and my parents.
Right. That's what I was thinking of, actually.
I'm totally joking, folks. I don't have just to be clear.
His parents are great.
But yeah, so that's kind of the reorganization that happened there. And obviously anything that Marvel does, there's always a question of like, oh my gosh, is this the thing that's going to ruin Marvel? I think we talked about this a little bit last time. I think everyone's waiting for that moment that Marvel
Guardians of the Galaxy, no, everybody loves it.
Ant-Man,
no, it's pretty damn good. Yeah.
So at this point, I don't think we should be holding our breaths waiting
Thor 3, maybe.
That's a possibility. They still haven't announced a director for Thor 3, which I find kind of interesting.
Huh.
I wonder why that is. Now,
I'm free.
Hey, if they can't get Spielberg, they should get you.
Hey, I love coming up runner-up to Spielberg. I'll take it any day. Anytime.
Now, obviously, we've got the Marvel movies. There's also across the street, the DC universe. They've got their own issues. Now, Man of Steel is a movie that I liked. Pretty controversial, pretty polarizing. We've talked about it. It does have your favorite, the blue beam going into the sky.
Love it.
Love the blue beam. Now, all this time, we've assumed that a sequel to Man of Steel was going to happen.
One would think.
One would think. And they were briefly talking about George Miller possibly doing the Man of Steel sequel.
One would hope.
One would hope. Now, word drops last week, and this is nothing close to official, but this comes via John Schnepp, the John Schnepp, who you alluded to.
The John Schnepp of
Death of
What
Superman.
the Hell Happened fame. Too many words, man. I can't remember that.
The Death of
Superman lives. What happened? Yes.
Is that okay? And he said that Man of Steel 2 has been put on indefinite hold.
How does that make you feel, Zaki?
Well, honestly, in the absence of a more official source, I feel like John Schnepp is just hyping up his upcoming documentary, The Death of Man of Steel 2, What Happened?
Yeah.
But I mean, here's the thing, right? I don't see, there's nothing that makes sense to me for even if the thinking is wait and see.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see why they would formalize that.
That is not going to happen.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes little sense.
Like, what is there right now that would lead Warner Brothers to say we're not going to do a Man of Steel sequel? Like,
Right.
we've had one Man of Steel movie, and that's literally it.
Well, maybe it's not in active development. Maybe that's something that Schnepp has some sort of friend at Warner Brothers, and it's like, well, it's not in active development. And it's like, they're not making a Man of Steel 2.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it could be as simple as that.
Sure.
So I don't know. Who knows? Remains to be seen. And then, I mean, maybe they're sort of waiting. I mean, Batman versus Superman is still, half a year away. Yeah. And they got to see how people respond to that and calibrate, I mean, and then they've got 2 Justice League movies coming after that. And then, so, I mean, there's figure out what people like out of the Batman Superman thing. And then you figure out what your Superman sequel is. I mean, well, all right, I'm talking about that's how it should work. But That's not how studios operate. Studios plan Fantastic Four 2, 2 years away before a movie that becomes what it becomes doesn't even come out. Yeah. So I mean, but that's just my feeling. I think sure. I mean, of course there could be one. We don't know.
Yeah. So at this point, it's basically a non-story, which is.
Yes.
I mean, it gets out there into the ether and everybody starts shitting their pants.
Right.
We need less pants shitting, Brian.
That's what I've always been saying.
I have T-shirts that say that. We need less pants shitting.
Yeah. And I have a button.
I should. We should market like baby clothes that say we need less pants shitting.
Wait, what? Baby quotes?
Like onesies. Right?
Sure.
I mean, I would not let my
Kickstarter as soon as we're done.
Let's get on that.
Yeah, we'll come up with our rewards.
Now there may not be a Man of Steel sequel coming. However, I know what can fill a void, and that is a sequel to basically every single Vin Diesel movie ever.
It's about time.
Now, of course, Fast and Furious 8 is for sure going to happen. We already know that. It's scheduled for 2017. However, believe it or not, there is going to be a sequel to Guardians of the Galaxy.
I anticipate it.
Okay, so maybe that's not much of a sequel.
Okay.
Much of a surprise. More of a surprise, probably, is that they're doing Triple X 3.
I mean, come on. Come on. You know what this is? This is Vin Diesel having Universal wrapped around his finger again because of the success of Furious 7.
But Triple X is not Universal.
Oh, what? What's that?
Triple X is Sony.
Oh Lord. Poor Sony. Poor
Sony.
Oh, Sony. You're adorable. That kind of makes sense, sort of. I mean, Sony's really trying to like rebound and have franchises, and Vin Diesel is in a $1 billion movie this year, right? So I mean, they're like, they got a Vin Diesel series. That actually kind of makes sense. I don't know why Vin Diesel would want to do it, to be honest with you.
That's actually the bigger question. Now, Triple X, the first one came out in 2002, and even back, I called it Poochie the movie.
Dude, yes, that is. I remember you saying that, and it's completely accurate.
Right? And
I
so
remember watching it on DVD and not even finishing it. It's so stupid.
It was egregiously offensive to me, just on a intellectual level. But for those of you who don't catch the reference, Poochie, of course, is this character who was added to the Itchy and Scratchy show on The Simpsons,
right? To
kind of hip things up, and he's
created by executives.
He is like mass created to be sort of this conglomerated version of what's considered cool.
Right. He's extreme. He's edgy. He's to the max.
And that's Triple X.
Yes.
And
James Bond gets killed off in the first scene of Triple X.
In the first
James
scene,
Bond is lame.
Yeah, and you know what's funny is that earlier this year, Kingsman did that exact same trick.
Yep.
And
except correctly.
Except correctly, right? And the analogy I make is that Triple X is basically like taking a piss all over James Bond, whereas Kingsman kind of like kissed the ring and good-naturedly,
became its own thing. Yeah,
right. It roasted the old man.
And that, I don't even know if I even took it as a roast. It acknowledged and then moved it in its own direction.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, and now bear in mind they did a sequel to Triple X already.
Who did it star?
It starred friend of the show, Ice Cube.
But here's the worst part. This is I don't know the Ice Cube one. I didn't even go near that one. But the first one with Vin Diesel, the whole premise is he's a super spy who's also an extreme sports enthusiast.
Right.
I mean, come on. It's like so 2002. Like it's like almost disgusting.
It was out of date in the middle of the opening weekend. Yeah.
Yeah. He loves to like extreme, snowboard, and I mean, come on.
Yeah, it was really so that's happening whether we want it or not. They're doing another Riddick movie because, again, why not?
Another one? Didn't they already do one that no one saw?
Yeah, so they did Riddick 3.
Which was, again, that was thank you for making Fast and Furious, wasn't it?
Exactly.
Universal? Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that as long as he's making a Dominic Toretto movie and he's bringing in the coin, he can make these Riddick movies. Like, Universal can write them off.
Yeah, that's whatever. I've never seen them. I know people like the first one. I get it. But like, I'm like, if you're Vin Diesel, why would you do Triple X? Like, why wouldn't you just try to like push some other thing you want to do?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I'm glad you asked, because another passion project for Vin Diesel is his new movie called The Last Witch Hunter.
Yes. I know people in this movie. I'm going to be quiet for the next 2 minutes.
So all I can go by is the trailer, and I can't say that anything really blew me away about what I saw in the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
I do feel, having watched the trailer, that Vin Diesel has a very specific corridor of appeal.
What do you mean?
In that he has appeal as one character.
Oh, I see.
As Dominic Toretto. Vin Diesel is not a movie star. Dominic Toretto is a movie star.
Yes. I see what you're saying. Yeah, sure.
And so I see this, and I mean,
I think I'm not gonna say he's a good actor, because I don't think he is, but like, I think he is a enjoyable presence.
Sure.
And I feel like there is potential for him in other things. He just needs to be a little more calculated.
You know what? Here's what I would say. I think that when he does stuff like he was in Boiler Room, right?
Right. Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah.
He was good in that. And then the one where he plays the mobster who's his own lawyer.
Oh man. I can't think of it. But yeah,
like when he does actorly roles that play against his persona, that's a smart thing to do. I think when it comes to action movies, just do your Fast and Furious movies.
yeah, sure.
You know,
I mean, those are ensemble pictures too. You know what I mean? Like that's yeah. Which will be interesting, by the way, for Furious 8.
Now to see what happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then another sequel, which he has alluded to, is the Iron Giant 2.
I missed this story. Well, okay, so he thinks it's happening.
Yeah, I don't think Brad Pitt thinks it's happening.
Or Bird?
Did I say Brad Pitt? Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes,
Don't
Brad
worry,
Pitt.
I'm thinking about him right now too, man. It's just I can't help it.
When in doubt, I think about Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt will voice the little boy grown up.
Hey man, where's my robot, man?
It's Brad Pitt. Is that you? Yeah, Brad Bird directed the original, which is great, by the way.
Yeah.
And I can, now it's sort of become this beloved thing. I can say I watched it when it was in theaters the first time. I'm not one of the. I'm like a hipster Iron Giant fan. I liked it way before it became. I've loved it, since '99. Now Vin Diesel on his Facebook says, "Don't be surprised when you hear WB announce the sequel."
Yeah.
Now here's the thing with Vin Diesel. I don't know if you've noticed this. He's actually very smart because he uses social media to leverage projects that aren't even necessarily happening.
Right. He has an enormous social media following.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so part of that is him posting videos of himself dancing and singing, which is horrifying. But the other thing he does, check them out. They're on YouTube, I'm sure. The other thing he does is he'll be like, looking forward to meeting with Marvel, when in fact he's not meeting with Marvel. But then
if he can get like millions of people to be like, that's what we want, then you can't. I mean, there was an article this week where it said it's more important in casting films now how many followers these people have on Twitter and Instagram. So yeah, I mean, that's super savvy of him. I mean, to be like, hey, 4 million people liked this idea of me working with Marvel. That's kind of how it works now.
Yeah.
So
I mean, well, that's the new landscape for filmmaking. It's the social media dimension,
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, real briefly, Brian, there's been a bit of a blip in Star Wars news since last week. Yeah,
it's funny. We haven't talked about this, but there was a new teaser that came out via Instagram, which is kind of interesting. And it was only 15 seconds long. And when it came out, I think I watched it 15 times. So it's like it keeps in the similar tradition of not really revealing a whole lot.
Yeah.
And it actually recycled a lot of footage, but it also showed, we're talking about 15 seconds here, but there's like a couple new shots, especially of the character played by John Boyega, Finn, I believe his name is, wielding a lightsaber, which is kind of interesting. And he's wielding a lightsaber in a snowy forest, which, if you're paying attention, seems to hook up with what we saw in the first teaser of I feel like such a nerd right now.
You do. You sound like one.
With Kylo Ren, right?
Yeah.
Which is supposedly the main villain. We don't know. We'll find out in December. But it looks like they might have
in the film.
Adam Driver. Yeah, they might have some sort of show off in the woods, which is so we're seeing, is Boyega a Jedi? Why does he have a lightsaber?
And supposedly it's Luke's lightsaber.
Oh, I didn't even notice that, to be honest. I only saw it on like small formats, but it's blue, so yeah. But
well, because and maybe I'm just making a connection here, because there's the shot and now I sound like such a dork. Jeez.
I mean, we could write it off and say it's our jobs, right? It's our jobs.
Okay. Let's go with that.
It's not like we think about this stuff on our own time.
Not at all. Not a damn bit. Not even a little bit. But there's the shot in the second trailer, where you see Princess Leia being handed a lightsaber, and that's Luke's lightsaber. That's been confirmed, I believe.
I think so.
It's the one that he lost on Bespin when his hand was cut off.
Right, by Vader.
So therefore, based on what we know, so I'm guessing that the blue lightsaber that we see Finn wielding is Luke's lightsaber.
Yeah.
I'm just putting that out there.
Pretty freaking awesome.
Yeah,
Like I can't even mask my excitement for this. So,
but that's not all.
oh no, well it was Force Friday this past Friday. What is today?
Today is
So
Monday.
last September 4th
Yes.
was Force Friday, which was like this enormous kickoff for all the merchandise for the upcoming Star Wars film, which to me I thought was insane. I heard that this thing was going to happen, right? But then it's like on the front page of Yahoo, it's on the front thing of Amazon. I mean, everywhere I turned, it was talking about Force Friday. And I was like, this is insane. Like
Yeah.
when Disney got the Star Wars license and they're going to make new movies, I mean, it's like, yeah, they're going to make new movies. They'll have some toys, blah, 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 blah. They have just brilliantly and expertly mapped out this rollout. You know what I mean? Like, we haven't learned too much about this movie. We've seen just enough to have, I mean, the whole world appetite whetted by what they've seen us, and they haven't shown us anything really.
Right.
And then they're like, and we're gonna roll out the toys in September, which to me seems really early. But they did it, and they made an event that was everywhere. You couldn't miss it, whether or not you cared, but like it was everywhere. And it was an event. They figured out how to manufacture an event out of this. And did you pay attention to this at all? Did you follow?
I didn't go to any of the midnight madness or whatever.
No, same. Well, which is weird too, by the way, if I can interject. Sorry. Building on that thought, when they did this for Phantom Menace back in 1999, you had to like line up at a Toys R Us or something at like, 2 a.m. if you were going to go in and go get the toys on the day they're released. But now you can get all this stuff online. You can go to like Amazon.com,
right,
or like Target.com or something like that and get all. It's like completely changed the game. Which I've never been one of these big merchandise guys actually, but I imagine if that was something that you wanted to do.
So when the Revenge of the Sith came out, I went all in on the action figures.
Sith, huh?
Revenge of the Sith. Yeah, not Phantom Menace, because I was broke then.
Okay.
Not Attack of the Clones, because I was still broke. Revenge of the Sith, I had a job. And at that point, I was like, this is the last Star Wars movie ever.
Sure. I see now.
You know what I mean? So I was like, I want to do something special. So I went, I've got somewhere in storage, I've got, all the action figures, all just the single figures.
Mm-hmm.
And I made the decision. I was like, I'm not doing that again. That's it. I just can't do it. It's ridiculous,
Yeah.
But I did. I went to Target and I looked around because I just wanted to see what kind of merch there was. And all the action figures were basically gone.
Okay.
It'd been picked clean. But I'll tell you what was interesting. I looked at the Legos.
Okay.
And I looked at the new TIE Fighter and the new, the Poe Dameron's X-Wing and all this stuff. And I saw the Millennium Falcon, the Lego Millennium Falcon. And where it really hit me how this is like such a later story was to look at the little minifigure of Han Solo. And he has just white hair.
That is so weird.
Right? And I was like, holy shit. Like, and we've seen the trailer like a zillion times.
Right,
We've seen old man Han Solo, but it was when I saw old man mini Lego figure Han Solo.
Right.
That made me, isn't that weird?
That's really funny.
Yeah. It was then that I had that sudden realization where I was like, oh my gosh, like, it's like, I mean, yeah, like when you think about it, let me put it this way. It's that realization of like, for 30 plus years, we've had young Han Solo action figures.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does that mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
And so it's like from now on, we're going to have old versions of these characters in the merchandise.
That's so funny. Yeah.
Like we had trench coat Han Solo, long jacket Han Solo, vest Han Solo, Hoth Han Solo. Now, geezer Han Solo.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't know. That was like my random thought from like out of all the stuff that I saw at the merchandise, that was my like takeaway.
Right. Right. That is a weird thought. But that's the world we're living in.
It is. We're just a part of it, whether we like it or not. So, but hard to believe we're 3 months away. So, we're going to be talking about that movie before we know it.
I know. I feel like we've been talking about it for years now.
Yeah, I know. That's true. It'll be anticlimactic once we're done talking about it. It's like, what's left? We'll just walk into the wilderness at that point.
Yeah.
It's like those old stories, those cultures. When it was time to die, they would just walk into the desert. That'll be us. We won't even close the show. It'll just be quiet.
Yeah.
Now, Star Wars, we're fully expecting it's going to be the story at the end of the year, but we just wrapped up summer. This is our first show back after Labor Day.
It's true. I hope you're not wearing white, Zaki.
I'm not, actually.
No, me neither.
Lucky for me. Yeah, I don't wear white.
Us.
Yeah. Dodged a bullet. So summer movie season is officially over. Labor Day marks the end. So I figured this has been kind of a tradition. We do this every year. Let's take stock of the summer season that just ended.
Let's do it. Let's dive in.
Let's dive in. It's been just an exceptionally money-making year.
Yeah. Universal.
Universal and Disney were basically fighting it out.
Yeah.
For market share, and everybody else was, I think Sony was in the corner weeping inconsolably.
Well, if Sony's talking about making XXX3, then we know.
we know that we're there.
Yeah.
Right. So well, and we'll talk about their entry into the summer. I figure, how should we do this? Should we just kind of go through in sequence of the stuff that came out? Sure.
Yeah.
So before summer even started, about a month before summer movie season started, we had Fast and Furious 7, which quickly became the number 4 movie of all time.
That's insanity.
Now, a year ago, would it have even entered your brain pan that Furious 7 would be forget number 4, in the top 10 all-time grossers?
No. But even more than that, I mean, can you imagine 6 years ago?
Right.
That's Fast and Furious 7? 7?
Yeah. That it would exist.
Yeah, first of all, but then become, what did you say, 4th?
Yeah. So it's made, let's see, it's made $1.5 billion.
Wow.
And that's against a $190 million budget, which actually is like pretty cheap.
Isn't that weird? 190 million is cheap.
That's also the world we live in.
Yeah. But it's weird because it feels like, and not to take credit away from this, because we're going to talk about a lot of other movies that made a lot of money.
It's actually, and it's number 5 all time, by the way, not number 4. Sorry.
Okay, 5 still. But I mean, does that feel special anymore?
That was my question, because in the last 3 months, in the last 5 months, we've had 1, 2, 3 movies become part of the top 10 movies of all time.
Yes. And $1 billion, making $1 billion isn't special, it's expected.
Right.
Remember, Sony was all like, oh, Spider-Man, well, it'll make $1 billion and then we'll move on from there, and it didn't.
And it didn't.
You know what I mean?
Oops.
Yeah. So that's the benchmark, Like, you gotta make.
So you would say that this is problematic?
I don't know if it's problematic, but I wonder if it takes away a little bit of the uniqueness. Like, I mean, we talk about Avatar a lot, and how it's the highest grossing movie of all time, but people don't really talk about it very much, which is kind of like this weird oddity sort of thing. But at the same time, we can fully acknowledge what a phenomenon Avatar was.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And like, it made that money, and I understand it. But like, now it just seems like any big movie that comes out touches the top 10 of all time. And what does that really mean? You know what I mean? Like, these are movies, I can't think of an example. I mean, Furious 7, not to take away from it, because I like Furious 7.
Sure.
But like, when you look at the top of all time, let's say like 10, 15 years ago, if you looked at the top 10 of all time, it'd be like E.T., Raiders of the Lost Ark, Star Wars, movies that people not only are talking about 30 years later, Jurassic Park, people are talking about them 30 years later. They'll be talking about them 30 years from now.
Sure. You
know what I mean? But these are movies that are going to, I don't know if people will be talking about them in 10 years, and they'll probably be usurped by Minions 4. You know what I mean?
Well, see, okay, so here's my argument. I would say that Furious 7 by itself is not necessarily a classic, but by virtue of longevity, the series has become a perennial.
Sure.
So in other words, in 20 years, people will be talking about the Fast and Furious movies.
Yeah, I can see that. Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, but I mean so that movie came out in April 3rd. And what strikes me about this is that I think we've now expanded the playing field for when you can open a movie and have it play. Right, because April 3rd, Batman versus Superman is going to be opening at roughly the same time of year next year.
Right.
And they're giving themselves a month of play before the Marvel movie, that year's Marvel movie comes along,
Right.
And I mean, arguably, it's smart scheduling.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, they got a solid month to themselves.
I mean, to what we were talking about. So Furious 7 came out early April, and then beginning of May, Avengers 2: Age of Ultron.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's another all-time grosser. It cost $250 million. It made, which is that's still cheap, honestly.
Yeah.
For that movie. I mean, it
for
is
that movie, sure.
And it made globally $1.4 billion.
Oof, wow.
So this is number 6 of all time, right behind Furious 7. Now, this movie underperformed in relation to the Avengers.
Right.
Is it a disappointment?
It's hard for me to say objectively. Personally, yes.
No, I mean financially.
Yeah, financially. Well, no, unless you're an idiot. But like, I can see when you look at it next to the first one, then yeah, of course. I mean, you would hope that now that everyone's familiar with it and likes it, that it would exceed, right? Sure. But does that ever really happen? I mean, is that
rarely?
Yeah, rarely. So I mean, yeah, I can understand why they would feel that way, but I think if they're disappointed in that, then they need to take a step back.
Reset their priorities a little bit.
Yeah.
But you were personally disappointed in it.
I didn't remember feeling much during it. After it, I haven't thought about it since. I saw it's coming out on Blu-ray, and part of me was like, oh, I'd kind of like to see that again. And then the same thought, like, nah. Not that it was bad. It was just totally all right.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, it did the trick for 2.5 hours. I saw it. I don't ever need to see it again.
Okay. Yeah. No, I'm kind of with you.
Yeah. And not that it was bad. I wish there had been more in it that had made me want to return to it, but I didn't feel like there was.
And we've had this conversation before, but there's that question of superhero fatigue. Would you say that this film contributed to that feeling for you?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I was already feeling it, I think, before I even saw it, but there's just a wash, rinse, repeat kind of feeling to all these films, even with Ant-Man, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Even though I enjoyed Ant-Man, but it felt very familiar. What made me like it was that there were different sorts of stakes at hand. So that made it feel refreshing. And the hero felt like a different sort of hero. His journey felt a little different. So that's what made it enjoyable, because it didn't feel exactly like everything else. But at the same time, I mean, it is very familiar.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, I would like to see the formula shaken up a little bit. I was just talking about this with my brother. We were talking about Guardians of the Galaxy. I don't remember why it came up, but we're like, man, that was just such a good movie. And like, for being a Marvel movie, it doesn't even feel like the other movies.
Yeah.
And that's what's so great about it, is that it stood out and had great characters. And I can't wait to see the next one.
Right.
So I will continue to see every Marvel movie. I will continue to enjoy them, but I don't rewatch them very often. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Well, it's, this past weekend I rewatched the first Iron Man for the first time in a long time.
Yeah.
And I forgot just how good that movie is.
That's a good movie. Yeah, sure.
You and I saw that together the first time, if you remember.
Mm-hmm.
Back in 2008, 7 years ago.
Wow.
My gosh. Anyway, so 2 weeks after Avengers: Age of Ultron, another very well-reviewed film came out. It did not make anywhere near the amount of money that either Furious 7 or Avengers did, and that's Mad Max: Fury Road.
Yeah.
Now, this received the kind of reviews that like Meryl Streep movies get.
It's true. Yeah.
That alone to me was unprecedented because it sits at 90-something% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah. For being basically a 2-hour car chase.
Yeah. And I rewatched that this past weekend with the wife, and she loved it.
Yeah.
Which surprised me a little bit. Yes.
Yeah.
Now that being said, okay, so it's at 97% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Wow.
97%. That's actually higher than the audience score, which is at 88%.
Really? Interesting.
Usually the audience score is higher.
Yeah.
For these things. But here's the interesting thing. Mad Max Fury Road, first of all, it's a hit. Let's establish that. But how big of a hit? It cost $150 million to make. It made worldwide about $375.
I think that's, again, it sounds profitable, but I think people would be warranted to call that a disappointment.
That's what I was thinking. I was actually thinking that when I looked at the numbers. I was like,
Especially as beloved as it seemed to be in internet culture.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it seemed to be very prevalent. Like in the way that it was referenced and the way people loved it. I mean, everybody I work with and friends with all loved it. So yeah, it seems weird that it wasn't, I mean, at least even the 400s.
That's
worldwide.
Right. At least I mean, it seems to me that maybe we don't want to jump so hastily into talking about a sequel.
You know, and I was also thinking, they always say with action pictures, even if we don't like them over here, they do well overseas because they're easy to translate.
Yeah.
And so, and that's weird to me that Mad Max didn't do better since it's super easy to comprehend and it's a spectacular show. You know what I mean? Like you could not hear any of the dialogue and you could still enjoy it on a level. And then you have like Terminator 5, which I guess we'll get to in a minute, but like that did fairly well around the world. But then that might speak to a star, an international star that everyone knows.
That's what I was going to ask.
Max didn't have that.
It's the difference between Mel Gibson and Tom Hardy.
Sure.
Not to say Mel Gibson now would have made a difference at the box office, but certainly Tom Hardy, for as respected an actor as he is, nobody's like, let's go see that new Tom Hardy movie.
That's true.
Well, let me rephrase. I'm sure people do say that, but there's not, a quorum that says that,
Right. Not like Schwarzenegger or Tom Cruise or someone.
Yeah, a guaranteed buy-in by a certain percentage,
Right.
Now, moving on, an unquestionable disappointment opened the week after Mad Max, and that's Tomorrowland.
Yeah.
And this was Brad Bird's big, anticipated follow-up to Mission Impossible. Now, this cost $190 million, relatively cheap. It didn't even make $95 million domestically. It topped out at $93 million domestically, $115 foreign. So against $190 million budget, $208 worldwide.
Can you imagine? I mean, and then rule of thumb for marketing is take the budget and divide it in half.
Yeah.
So, I mean, not like Disney's going to be hurting this year, by the way, but that's a disappointing, especially because it was an original story.
Now, okay, so here's my question, okay, because at the time this came out, there were a lot of negative reviews that were framed around this. There was like rending of garments because, it's an original idea, and what's going to happen to the next original idea? And I was like, well, if your original idea is not executed well, I'm not shedding any tears when it doesn't do well.
Sure. I agree with that.
So what happened to Tomorrowland?
I think they tried to tease and, get people sort of, I think they believed in it too much and didn't realize people weren't interested.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like they thought that there would be enough of a draw that like, we'll just tease and try to get people interested in this and we'll give you breadcrumbs. And when you show up, you'll enjoy the show. But I think the breadcrumbs weren't interesting enough and confusing. And it wasn't like, who is this movie for? Was it for adults? Was it for kids? It was just confused. It was all muddled, I think was the problem. And the movie wasn't completely great. I actually liked it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, it wasn't like one of those things when you walk out, you got to recommend it to someone.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I walked out liking it for the most part, but I don't know that I'd recommend it to anybody.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, when we contrast Tomorrowland with the movie that came out the following week, look at the story there. San Andreas, $110 million budget. It made 154 million domestically, 315 worldwide. 300, sorry, foreign. Worldwide, almost $470 million.
Whew, 470. Wow.
Now,
The Rock, well, you got an international star there.
International star plus a concept that'll put butts in seats.
Yeah, natural disasters.
Right. I mean, it was a big screen IMAX movie.
Yeah.
You know, did you end up seeing San Andreas?
I did.
I can't even remember. Did we talk about it?
Man, I don't remember. But
yeah.
I thought it was fine. I enjoyed it. I would never watch it
you
again.
Talk about never, like, right. It's in one eyeball, out the other.
That's a theater experience. That's like you go to watch something big and destructive and loud, and then you never think about it again.
It's Day After Tomorrow. It's 2012.
Yeah, exactly.
It's any given Roland Emmerich disaster movie.
Right.
But yeah, that's fascinating to me because you look at what plays with audiences in the summer season, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's that.
Yeah. Yeah. So
now, of course,
I had no idea it was that successful.
Me either, actually. I was surprised until I looked at the numbers. Yeah. Now, the biggest hit of the year so far, just a few short weeks later, was Jurassic World.
Yeah. I mean, where are we at currently?
So as of now, it's made $647 million domestically.
Domestic alone.
1 billion foreign. So this is actually 1 billion foreign. So total, we're at 1.
So 1.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this is part of a very rarefied air of movies that have topped $1 billion internationally.
Wow.
Not cumulatively, just international. So you take out the American box office, you still made $1 billion.
Yeah.
Now here's the interesting part about this. This movie cost $150 million.
Wow.
That's cheap.
Yeah. For that thing?
Yeah. Now here, this is, and this is sort of overlapping with the conversation we had about this, but I mean, certainly with the benefit of a few months, what do you attribute this to?
Man, I have a couple thoughts. My brother the other day asked, he's like, do you think Chris Pratt had anything to do with that?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, no. You know what I mean? As much as I like him, I don't think people were like, let's go see this new Chris Pratt movie. Like, dinosaurs, obviously. Everybody loves dinosaurs. Little kids like dinosaurs. We like dinosaurs. And I think a lot of it I'm noticing, too, is Jurassic Park. I feel like we've loved it since the day it came out, but I feel like it's finally aged to the point where now it's considered like a legit classic.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, younger people still really love it. People our age, of course, love it. And so people want to see another Jurassic Park. So I think the name has a lot to do with it. I think, I don't know. I mean, the fact that it was so, I mean, what's the last movie in America that's domestically made 600 million plus? I have no idea. I mean, that's crazy. I have no idea.
Well, and the fact that it, you know, I mean, I remember watching the estimates for the opening weekend, and they just kept going up and up and up until suddenly no one expected it, but it was the #1 opening weekend of all time.
Yeah.
That's extraordinary. I mean, the movie is good. Like that's the nice thing about this is that this is not a piece of shit that we're like, oh, what's wrong with people? You know, like you get to be like, well, it's a good flick, you know?
Right.
But my question is this a one-off, or is Universal right to be fast-tracking the sequel?
I doubt it will perform the same. But no, I think they should absolutely capitalize on the moment.
And I think they've already scheduled the sequel for 2017, I believe.
Okay.
Or 2018. But it's coming. It's a coming.
Yeah.
So So don't you fret.
It's a coming.
It's a coming. Now this is just it's a behemoth. I mean, gosh, it's just it's 2018 by the way. But I mean, it came out and it really kind of sucked the air out of the rest of the summer to some extent, because I think the movies for the rest of that month were trying to catch up to just the Jurassic World blitzkrieg.
Right.
Now, a few weeks later was Terminator Genesis, which you alluded to earlier. And Lord knows we've spent enough time talking about this movie. I don't want to belabor the point, but I do think it's worth pointing out what you said about the box office.
Right.
Which is that, first of all, $155 million budget, not that much more expensive than Jurassic World. It hasn't made Jurassic World money, but it also has done pretty well when you factor in the global box office. Now, domestically, didn't crack 90 million.
Wow.
Okay. Yet, when you factor in international, it's made more than $400 million. So this movie has outgrossed Mad Max Fury Road.
Yeah.
So my question is this. When we talked about this before, we were like, how would they do a sequel? Does this mean that a sequel is more likely?
I think so. Sure. I mean, it's a global market. I mean, it's always been, but now more than ever.
But when you contrast the floppage domestically versus the box office, like, how do you like that factor about how poorly it did here in the States?
Yeah, I mean, to me, if you own the rights to that movie, like, absolutely, what you do is you scale it back a little bit, budget wise, and do the math and figure out what it'll likely make worldwide. And like, yeah, it's almost like a no brainer.
Sure.
Like, who cares if Zaki and Brian don't like it? You know what I mean?
True. We don't matter.
Yeah. So
now, real briefly, because we're getting into more recent stuff. Ant-Man became a hit. I'm very happy about that, I have to admit.
Yeah, I dug Ant-Man, and that was another one where I think that was a little bit of a question mark, right?
Well, and it's made. I mean,
for
it's
Marvel films.
Everyone is expecting it to flop.
Yeah,
and 174 domestically. I mean, it hung in there.
Yeah.
Which is pretty crazy, and it's just under 400 worldwide. So I mean, this is a win for Marvel. I think no doubt about it. And that makes me happy because I mean, you mentioned earlier how it's very formulaic. I appreciated how even within that formula, it was willing to do something kind of different.
Oh, totally. Yeah, like I said, it was like the stakes of that film and how different they were. I thought was really fun and. Yeah,
and it's funny, and I've said this before. My kids love Ant-Man.
Yeah,
and I can guarantee they didn't before this movie came out. So I mean, if Marvel is, I mean, I think it's very smart to be like, let's create because Ant-Man is no different than Iron Man was back in 2008. Nobody liked Iron Man back then.
Yep, sure.
Yeah. Now, moving on to a slightly different story than Ant-Man, box office wise, Pixels is another proud flop from Sony.
Yeah, man. Where did that end up? First of all, I mean, I don't know if I would have predicted as low as it went.
So first of all, it cost $88 million, which is a relative bargain. However, it couldn't even scrape that much together domestically. 73 million, about 74 million domestically, 120 foreign. So $195 million about worldwide.
Wow. Yeah.
Now,
I don't know anyone who saw that.
Did you see it?
No. I would watch it. Because I know those characters like Donkey Kong and Pac-Man and all that stuff. And I thought the concept was kind of fun. It was the fact that it was an Adam Sandler movie kind of turned me off, if I'm being honest.
That was my question. I mean, is this it for Adam Sandler?
Well,
playing it
I think
the
Netflix
level that
is hoping not.
Right.
But I mean, yeah, is it time for him to reconfigure his model? It seems like he is, putting movies out through Netflix. So
and that's kind of interesting because Netflix doesn't release their statistics, so we have no way of knowing whether it's a hit or flop.
Which is funny, though, because if I was watching television one afternoon and didn't know what to watch, and I turned on Netflix and I saw there's a new Adam Sandler movie there, and I haven't seen his movies in the theater in years,
Right.
I still might click on it.
Sure.
Just because curiosity and it's there.
Right.
So who knows? I mean, that might work well for him. I don't know.
Well, if you ever end up watching Pixels, I'd love to get your take.
I'm sure I'll see it eventually. That was one I wasn't, unless I had to, I wasn't going to pay $15 for in the theater.
Yeah, well, when I had my press screening, I like put out the word, "Hey, anybody want to see Pixels?" And people sent me emojis of crickets, basically. So. Now, very much of a success story shortly after Pixels is Mission Impossible: Rogue Nation. Huge smash, this one. $150 million budget. It's made 182 domestically, 511 worldwide. This series cannot be stopped.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, kind of like Fast and Furious. It seems like with each sequel that it gets better and better.
Yeah.
You know?
Now,
and that's one of the few movies that I saw twice this summer. I saw Mad Max twice and enjoyed it maybe even more the second time. And I saw Mission Impossible 5 twice and might have even enjoyed it more the second time. So
yeah, me too. I got to see it with the wife, which we don't get to movies often. So just by virtue of that. But yeah, I mean, it holds up remarkably well. It's a smart thriller. And I think, honestly, out of all of the movies this summer, I would point to Mission Impossible as being the best summer movie.
Yeah. 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 Because it was big and fun and popcorny, but it was also smart and well done and well executed. Yeah, for sure.
It gave you everything you would want from a summer movie without needing to take a shower afterwards.
Yeah, like San Andreas. I mean, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but San Andreas was just like fodder. You know what I mean? Like it was just
totally exactly.
But Mission Impossible is like, it's a good movie.
Now, Tom Cruise is making Jack Reacher 2.
Mm-hmm.
Which I hope is called Reach Around, really.
Reaching. That's what we'll call 3 then.
Yeah, exactly. You know,
Reaching for the stars. Yeah.
Now, this is, I didn't realize this. This is his first non-Mission Impossible sequel.
Huh. Did you like the first one?
I did. I liked it for what it was. Like, I think what I said at the time was it felt like a decent pilot episode of a series.
Yeah, I think we'll probably feel the same then, because I thought it was pretty good. You know, but I haven't thought about it. I haven't thought about that character.
Yeah, like I think what I said at the time was if they put out another one, I would be totally fine with revisiting the character.
Same.
So I think, like, I have no problem with the existence of the movie, but I find it fascinating that he's never had another franchise.
Yeah, I wonder why that is. I mean, part of me wonders because it's based on a series of books. I mean, you know, there's already these plots available, and maybe they knew what they wanted to do next, or maybe they were building towards something in the first one, and Cruise saw something there.
Well, you know what I think is. Tell me what you think of this. I think, you know how normally it's like you do the franchise movie so that you can do your one for you movie, right?
Yeah.
Well, when you think about it, Tom Cruise, for the majority of his career, I would argue until recently, his like one for me movies were also huge blockbusters.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like normally it would be like you do a Mission Impossible so that you can do a Jerry Maguire.
Right. Or like a Rain Man or something.
Right.
Yeah.
So when he had no need to do these big blockbusters because his non-blockbusters were blockbusters.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's only recently that that's changed, where it's much more like when Tom Cruise plays Ethan Hunt, audience will show up. Otherwise, they're not showing up, because I think he's fared arguably better than like his sort of movie star contemporaries.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's definitely like there's more buy-in for a Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
So in that sense, kind of makes sense that now he's seeing what he can do by, you know, sort of finding another character to play. But
right.
I just thought, I mean, that was just an observation that somebody made to me, and I was like, I hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah.
That this would be Jack Reacher 2 is his first non-Mission Impossible sequel.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if in terms of if creatively that's something he really wants to do, then and be fulfilled, then that's great. But I don't know how well that's gonna do.
You don't know how well Jack Reacher 2 will do.
Yeah.
Well, if they keep the budget low, and I don't see any reason why they shouldn't.
Yeah.
Like a Jack Reacher movie should cost about $80 million.
Yes, totally.
Right. You spend $80 million, you'll make double that.
Right.
Worldwide, and you should call that a win.
Yes, exactly.
And, why aren't
That's
we
what I was gonna
producers,
say.
Brian?
I know.
Now, Mission Impossible, one of the great success stories, and its success can be measured in almost direct inverse proportion to what came out just a week later, which is Fantastic Four. We talked about it last time. The story continues, not in a sequel, which will never happen, but but
I want to be like, you're so bad.
Oh, you. Now, this movie had a budget, which I think it was $120 million, which, relatively speaking, not that much.
For that type of movie, that's pretty reasonable, modest.
Absolutely. That being said, it looks like they spent not very much on it. So there is that. Now, the tail of the tape is embarrassing. Domestically, it has made $54 million. $54 million, yeah.
Wow.
Now, bear in mind that the 2005 Fantastic Four opened to $55 million.
Wow. Wow.
So the big flop that nobody liked is right. It made $56 million in 3 days, 56. Whereas this new one total couldn't top that.
I mean, you would have told me 2 years ago with none of the context. I would have told you it was a bad idea and they never should have made it. But no one could predicted that. I mean,
that it would flop so spectacularly.
Yeah.
So the 2005 Fantastic Four total domestic gross, this is the 2005 one, $155 million.
Right.
The 2015 Fantastic Four, the total worldwide gross, $155 million.
Yeah. I mean, but that there were so many things going on with that, right? Like, I mean, kind of bad buzz beforehand, and then the whole thing that happened with the Josh Trank.
Yeah,
there was just a whole lot of weird factors. I would love to like see a poll from like your regular moviegoer who doesn't follow this stuff like we do. Like, why didn't you go?
Yeah,
I would love to know.
Was it the characters? Was it the reviews? Was it
Yeah. Or was it the fact that this stuff, which normally we read about, was more widely reported?
Yeah.
And did that actually contribute?
It's funny because I was just telling you about Jurassic World, how I was watching through the weekend as the estimates kept going up and up. It was the exact opposite with Fantastic Four.
Oh, really?
The estimates just kept going down. In fact, I remember because I was driving to SoCal actually.
Mm-hmm.
The Friday, the Friday that it opened, and I was getting like text alerts telling me about the box office.
Oh, funny.
And and it was just going down and down, and it was extraordinary. I mean, this isn't like this. There is a little bit of Schadenfreude to me because it's just like there's such hubris that the studio displayed that I like seeing that. Well, you have to think about the finished product,
right?
Like now, granted, I don't like seeing any movie flop this spectacularly, primarily because there's probably people that are losing their jobs because of this movie,
right?
That had nothing to do with it being a flop,
right?
So
that's very true.
And I don't in any way want to sound like I'm rejoicing in that. I'm not. However, if there is an upside, it's that learning that lesson. You can't just put something out because we need to keep the rights. That's not a good enough reason.
Right. I guarantee you though they haven't learned a thing.
Yeah. Well, they're just like, we've got it because as far as they're concerned, it's about the property and not the execution of the property.
Yeah.
That being said, if we end up with Marvel getting the rights back, then I think that'll be best for everybody.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd be super surprised if that happened, though.
Now that's interesting to me because this movie has not just peed in the pool, it radioactive peed in the pool,
Yeah.
which is the worst kind of pee, by the way.
Yeah.
So, I mean, given that, how does Fox hold on to the rights?
I don't know necessarily what they're going to do with it, but like they have what they have. And, even if when you were a kid and you wanted Star Wars action figures, even though they only had, you wanted Luke and Han and Leia, even though, they only had the Imperial Guard and like Admiral Akbar and like some sort of weird, like Jabba person, you still had Star Wars action figures and you're going to do whatever you could to make the most of it.
It's funny. I remember back in '87. So this is 4 years after Jedi, right?
Yeah.
My mom had gone shopping and she found a bunch of Star Wars figures on clearance, and so she comes back with like the Rancor Keeper and Prune Face and and like that three-eyed guy from Jabba's palace,
Yeah.
And it's totally what you're saying. You're like, well, this is what we got.
Yeah. And like, I mean, they have X-Men, right? Which is great. And they've handled really well.
Yeah.
Which seems to be a miracle now.
It really does.
But they need more, and what else do they have, in terms of franchises and, the superhero bubble, it could burst eventually, but it's not right now. Sure. And they got to make do with what they have. And I don't think they'll be willing to lose any of it.
Let's put that to the test. I'm actually very curious if we will ever see. My belief is that this is the end of Fox's involvement with Fantastic Four.
Okay,
but let's see what happens.
Let's internet handshake.
That's right. Now, just to close off our discussion of the summer, we started the show talking about this, so this is full circle. Straight Outta Compton, in my opinion, the biggest surprise of the year.
Yeah, for sure. In terms of success and also critical, critical and audience reception.
Now, when we look at the numbers here, $28 million.
Yeah,
it cost to make.
Can you imagine how much of that went to just securing the musical, licenses?
Well, I mean, they probably got a little bit of a discount on it, I would imagine, right? I mean,
you would hope, but I mean, they don't own that music.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's like the lion's share of the budget, probably.
I think, you know what? Actually, I take that back because it's Eazy-E's wife, I think, who owns that.
Okay, and she's a producer.
They brought her on as a producer, so maybe it ended up working out all right. But I had heard them say in making ofs that that was one of the key, most difficult things to getting the movie made. So maybe what they're saying is it was difficult getting her on board. Sure. But then once they did get her on board, then it made life easier.
Wow. So now this one opened to $60 million.
Yeah.
So it more than doubled its budget in 3 days.
Yeah.
Amazing. And as of now, it's made $150 million domestically, $18 million foreign, which proves yet again that other parts of the world are racist.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting, isn't it? I mean, I guess it's a very American story.
It is, and I mean, I was only slightly joking, but I mean, we should acknowledge the fact that generally speaking, black-led films don't particularly play internationally.
Sure.
And part of that is what you're describing. I mean, it speaks to a very American experience. However, I mean, I don't know. I feel like certainly from the time that we were kids to now, rap has become much more of a global language.
That's true.
I don't know, but regardless, they don't even need international.
No,
you know what? Just keep your piddly $18 million.
Yeah, come on, Germany. Like we care.
So 168 million total gross against a $30 million budget. So when do we get the sequel?
Yeah, what would that be?
Even Comptoner, Electric Boogaloo.
Right.
Why did this movie do so well?
Man, you know what? I think for two reasons. I think if you want to talk about black-led movies, there's not a whole lot of them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think people who want to see a film like that were eager for it. I think that's part of it. But also, B, I think the movie itself was made in such a way that, like we were saying earlier, anyone can hop into this story and understand it and track with it and maybe even find, bits of themselves in it, like the underdog. It's an underdog story.
Sure.
So I don't know. I think it's much more accessible than people would have previously thought it could be.
Yeah.
I think that's why. What about you?
Well, I think people like to be uplifted.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, this is the story of the American dream. It's the American nightmare, depending on who you are.
Right. Sure.
Certain parts of the country, but I mean, it's it's rags to riches, and it's framed around compelling drama. There's already been the talk about how it leaves out aspects of the story. They don't include Dr. Dre beating up this woman, and not to say that that's in any way okay, but I understand why they didn't include something like that in this story,
right,
as it exists, because it completely flies in the face of the narrative that they're constructing. It's Rocky,
right? Yes, exactly.
It's that archetype, and so it's no shock to me that it works. And yeah, I've been listening to Best of NWA for the last couple of weeks.
Have you?
I had a little bit of an awkward moment. This is true. I was at the police station to get a fix-it ticket signed off, and as the cop is walking up, like F the police blasts on shuffle. You never saw me dive to the stereo so fast to turn it off.
That's hilarious.
And just the innocuousness of me in this like suburb, can you sign my fix-it ticket, as like F the police is playing. But you know what? This was a great summer. We had a lot of very, very good flicks.
Yeah, stuff we didn't even touch on. I mean, Inside Out.
Oh, that's right. Inside Out.
There are some other ones too that just kind of like
Minions, another $1 billion movie.
Yeah, Minions, and but Ted 2. I mean, that just
came and went.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I didn't ever expect it to do as well as the first one, but still, that was kind of crazy.
I didn't expect, and it's not a flop. I mean, it's nobody's losing their shirt.
I'd say underperformed.
Underperformed is fair. Yeah.
Yeah, and then what was the other one? Oh, Entourage. That was like a big question mark. Like I never thought that was going to be a big thing, but it was a real like. When they announced it, when they were making it, when it was released, it was like I don't really know what they were thinking, and then that was kind of a.
It cost $30 million, and it barely beat that domestically. So I mean, that has to be a disappointment.
Yeah,
although
kind of a weird experiment.
If they had spent $15 million, they would have been smart.
Yeah,
because I'm wondering how you drop $30 million on that.
I don't know.
You know what I mean? Like none of those cast members should have been holding anybody up for money.
Right. Like, should have been saying thank you.
Yeah, Adrian Grenier, are you kidding me?
Yeah. So
Jeremy Piven, who's arguably the biggest star in that cast.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying he did hold them up, but I mean, it's just this. You spend less for something like that, it stands to reason because a $44 million gross, if the thing cost about $10 to $15 million, it would be considered a pretty decent ROI.
Right.
Yeah. But what do we know, Brian?
What do we know?
I don't know. But I do know that it's time to go.
Oh, so soon?
I know. This has been a jumbo-sized episode, actually, which is appropriate because this is like our third season premiere.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Think about it. We had our little summer hiatus.
Yeah. Now we're kicking off. Got some exciting movies coming up ahead.
We got lots of fall movies coming up. So just what are you excited for the fall? Other than Star Wars. The Martian, we'll be talking about that in 2 episodes. We'll be talking about The Martian.
Yeah, is a big fan of the book, which, by the way, I'll just keep saying it till it comes out. I mean, if you haven't read the book, or better yet, if you haven't listened to the audio book of that, I think Zaki and I both would highly recommend it.
It's funny because on our way back from SoCal, I was my wife was driving, and I was like, "Hey, I've got The Martian, the audiobook. Do you want to hear it?" And she was like, "Sure." And then and the boys were with us in the back. She's like, "Is it okay for them?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's fine. It's like a survival story."
Mm-hmm.
And I put it in, and it's literally the first line: "I'm effed."
That's funny.
And I'm like, I'll just turn that off.
And what do you have, honey?
Yeah. So yeah, we got The Martian coming up. There's a Spectre. Steve Jobs. That's also in October, I believe.
I think so. Yeah.
And Creed. That's the one I think I'm most looking forward to, other than like Bond and Star Wars.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, and then of course all the big Oscar bait type movies, which I have to admit I'm just as excited for those as I am for the big summer blockbuster movies. So
yeah, that movie Joy. I don't think we even talked about that, but I'm interested about that. The David O. Russell, Jennifer Lawrence movie.
I've only heard of it. I haven't seen any footage from it or anything. Has there
Watch
been
the trailer? It's a great trailer.
There's just a teaser of it out, I think.
Yeah, teaser's a better description of it.
Okay, I'll have to check that out. Yeah, David O. Russell, I'm in.
Same.
He's one of those directors. But that's a good place to leave it for this time. We will be back in 2 weeks, however. In the meantime, Brian, where can people find you? By the way, so that before you get to it, issue 3 of the Bob's Burgers comic is out.
Yeah, just came out this past week. And,
my main man Brian has a story in it. Yeah,
it might be one of my favorites actually too. So it's a Tina erotic friend fiction story where she's James Bond. And I gotta say, this is one of my favorite things in writing these stories was coming up with what a kid as a Bond villain would try to do as his dastard plan. So
well, Brian, just remember from now on, you are comic book writer Brian Hall.
Comic book writer Brian Hall. That's crazy.
It's pretty cool. So
yeah, I've actually autographed a few comics, which was a whole new experience.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Pretty cool.
I'm still waiting for you to autograph my. Well, I read them on my iPad, so don't sign that.
I'll just kiss a corner of the iPad.
There you go. Good enough. But if people do want to reach out to you, where can they find you?
I have a blog, everythingbrian.blogspot.com, and if they want to reach out to me, they can reach out to me at my Twitter, which is at everythingbrian, and that's pretty much the only time I'll get on my Twitter is people will reach out to me, so I don't use it very often.
So reach out to him, people. And you do have a website?
That was it. Everything Brian.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Blogspot.com. Yeah.
And as for me, I'm at zakiscorner.com. That's ZAKIS corner.com. I'm also at the Huffington Post, where my movie reviews go up regularly, and also at Philly Weekly, where my movie reviews and interviews are also available. I'm also finally on Rotten Tomatoes by virtue of being associated with Philly Weekly. So,
cool.
Kind of a new thing for me there. And I'm on Twitter at Zaki's Corner, and I'm wherever you think of me, I will be there. I'm all around you. But that wraps up this episode of the Movie Film Podcast. We'll be back in 2 weeks. What are we talking about? I don't know. You'll find out the same time we do. And on behalf of Brian Hall, this is Zaki Hassan. Thank you for listening.
Welcome, friends. It's the MovieFilm Podcast. MovieFilm Podcast. Enjoy the show. Zaki and Brian are talking about movies. MovieFilm Podcast on the radio.